me for this Valley Makers Showcase session. So in case you don't know me, my name's Sarah Brisbane and I'm Head of Commissioning and Income at Royal Papworth Hospital. And I'm also an L&D lead and ambassador within the Trust. So today's session focuses on how at Royal Papworth we've developed a tool for the recording of the team's learning activities. And as just been mentioned, if you could just pop any questions either in the chat or wait to the end, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Thank you, and I'll do my best to answer. And do shout if technology goes wrong, because I can't see on my two screens at the moment what's happening. So just a little bit of background first. So in 2020 at RPH, we had obviously an L&D, a learning development group. We were tasked with building a skills gap analysis tool. So this was to enable us to assess where our focus needed to be directed in terms of learning opportunities we were offering to our team. And in February 2021, we presented a session on the skills matrix at the FSD conference. And from that, we've actually shared it with over 40 NHS organisations nationwide. And I know there's a few on the call included in that. So one NHS Finance have taken the skills matrix and are currently developing that into a national tool. So this is very close to being piloted, and it's going to be rolled out in the coming months. And I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the skills matrix, just in case you're not familiar with it, because it is really integral to the development of the learning log. So the skills matrix allows self-assessment against competencies in the areas of technical skills. So for this, it's based upon the Skills Development Network NHS Finance competencies, where there were the relevant skills for that sub-team. If they were no relevant skills for those sub-teams, then we developed them in-house using our team leads. So for example, RTT and BI. We then use the FFF4 strengths framework to bring up competencies for people skills, leadership skills, business and people. And also personal attributes, so all based upon the 4 strengths. And from this self-assessment, the skills matrix facilitates the formation of a bespoke personal development plan between that individual and line manager. So that's to give you a little bit of a background. So what next? So everyone completes their self-assessment and they have their own bespoke learning development plan. Brilliant, that's great. But how do they then record and monitor their learning activities against their plan? And as a line manager, how can you see how your team are progressing? So we used to have an Excel template for recording learning activities against PDPs, which, while suitable for professional body CPD recording, was really quite inconsistently used across the team and really didn't represent the totality of learning being undertaken. So we recognised that there was a need to improve the way in which learning activities were being captured and to allow us to promote further learning and development. So we were after something that would appeal to everyone, allow learning activities to be recorded by everyone of every type, and to be presented in a really user-friendly way. So task: develop a tool that was inclusive, suitable for everyone and for all types of learning, whether that be a formal Excel course, a health and wellbeing webinar, a TED talk, some reading, or any other activity that constitutes learning or development. Because at Royal Papworth, we're very much look at the development of the individual as a whole at a holistic level, and not just looking at development of their technical skills for purposes of enhancing their career. So in the Finance Directorate, we have ambassador groups from across all sub-teams, excuse me, and levels of seniority. So we champion 4 areas. So you can see on the screen here: learning development, EDI, health and wellbeing, and innovation and optimization. And in this case, it was the learning development groups joining up with the innovation and optimization group, collaborating using new technologies to work on our new learning log and dashboard. So what was our aim? So we established that there would be two parts to this development. Firstly, the template that information would be recorded on, and then secondly, how that information would be collated and displayed. So our aim was that everyone had access to a tool that could be used in assessing learning activities against appraisal objectives, PDPs, and also be used to plan future learning and development needs. So criteria, obviously we had to establish our project criteria, and for the individual, we wanted a template that was very user-friendly, that was not time-consuming, because we know, people are short of time. We wanted that not to be a barrier, and we wanted a dashboard that was able to be updated in real time, easily accessible, very visually attractive, and we wanted to incorporate a kind of TripAdvisor rating for courses as well. So you could say a little bit, not just about what you learned, but actually how did you rate that course? And really what we're looking for is the information required to facilitate meaningful discussions. And for line managers, the dashboard was to provide information on individuals' learning within their teams. So we wanted to be able to assess future opportunities for learning and the timing of this. So is learning undertaken more in some months than others? We wanted to see progress against PDPs and objectives. We wanted to see whether the monthly protected learning time that we afford to the team was being utilised. And as with the skills matrix, we wanted to actually be able to transfer this tool to other areas of our organisation and beyond, so into the system through our ICB L&D group and further afield through sessions such as this. So we started with the template. So the template, or the learning log as we now refer to it, was the first part of the development. And this learning log captures learning activities via a Microsoft form, which is easily available to every member of the directorate through our dedicated learning development teams channel, which, as you can see from the screenshots here. So what does it look like? So for the purposes of this presentation, I've had to put the template over a number of slides, but I will just talk you through it. So the template takes around 5 minutes to complete, and each question leads on from the previous one. So I've actually completed this using a Richard Russell webinar just to be able to show you the whole form. So we ask for responses on the name of the course. So did you attend a course? The name of it, the training method and the provider, and the date you can see here as well. You can see how long that session was, and then why you actually chose that activity, that learning activity. So was it because it was in line with your PDP? Was it part of your skills matrix development plan? Was it an appraisal objective, new skill required? Or was it just of interest to you? We then ask what skills you were looking to develop. So whether that be business, digital, leadership, technical, people, personal, or health and well-being. And also what was learned. So you can see there's some free text here as well. And these are mandatory questions, so you do need to complete those. And then you can see in question 10 there, we ask you to rate that activity out of 5. And then again, out of 5, how likely you would be to recommend that course to others. A little bit more free text, and then whether you are a member of a professional body, and if you are, which body, sorry, and how many minutes you want to record for your CPD. So This is very much able to be used for people who need to record their CPD, but also for anyone else. So this was definitely the easier part of the project. So then we come onto the dashboard. So we looked at how we could collate and display the information, and we established that we wanted to see the inputs from the learning log template on a dashboard in 3 views. So we wanted to be able to have an individual user dashboard, so enabling the individual to filter by any criteria, so including the time period, making it equally adaptable for annual appraisals, quarterly reviews, or monthly one-to-ones. For line managers, we wanted to enable them to view their whole team's dashboard, and again, for use in one-to-one conversations, objective reviews, annual appraisals, etc. And then for the senior management team, enabling them to view the entire directorate. And just to say as well that the dashboard that we've created, we created in ClickSense, which is the program that we use for our internal reporting. So on the next few slides, I'm going to show you the screenshots again from the dashboards, and we're going to start with the individual one. So you will see here on the first page, we have sections for total training time. So starting top left, total training time, the training method and provider, the training by competency, going back to technical, people, leadership, etc. And then the reason why the training was undertaken. So again, of interest to me, in line with my objectives, etc. And then on the bottom half, you can see the total training time by month and also your own course ratings. So these very much mirror the questions on the template. So just continuing on with page 1, you're able to filter on any of those sections that we just looked at. So if your 3-month review was due for August, September, and October, you can actually then use the training date or month here to just select the months that you want to look at. What you can also do is just click on there's little arrows in the corner, which look a little bit like the arrows where it says full screen. And that enables you then to see in more detail or a lot clearer. So the second page of the dashboard shows your own personal activity log. So this is quite a wide screen. So you need to scroll across the page to see each column. So I'm doing this over a couple of slides here. But again, this is working from left to right. You can see the data, activity, course title, description, etc. And again, you can filter. You can use the filter in any of these columns. So if you wanted, say, to refer back to a particularly good Excel course you wanted to recommend to someone, you could just filter by Excel and find out when you did it, who provided the training, etc. And I'm just going to move on to the next. So this is as we're moving across. As you can see, these courses got lots of greens, which is very good. Not all of them do. And I'm sure eagle-eyed people out there will notice that Daryl got a 5 out of 5. You can see there, Daryl. I think that was your session at the regional conference. So well done on that. Whoever put this one on, obviously enjoyed that one. And then moving to the far right-hand side of page 2, you can see this is where more of the free text comes in, and also the recording of minutes for the professional body. Page 3 of the individual dashboard shows the directorate-wide course ratings. So you can use this if you want to find a course or learning session, for example, see what others have said about it and how they've rated it. So this is kind of our TripAdvisor function that we use now in the directorate. And you'll be able to see on the right-hand side there where someone has added the learning they're doing towards their exams. So this is equally valuable for those who are qualified or studying for professional qualifications as those who are not. And just to say as well that this dashboard updates automatically, and it does that every 2 minutes. So it's very much real time. You fill in the template, you submit, and 5 minutes later or 2 minutes later, it will show on your dashboard. The team dashboard, very, very similar. So it provides the same information, but at a sub-team level. So with this dashboard, you're also able to filter by team. So like in my case, and this is my team's dashboard, my direct reports are across a number of sub-teams, which you can see blued out here. And you can also filter by person. So if you're having that conversation as a line manager with one of your team, you can just go into your team dashboard, filter on that person, and you'll be able to see exactly what learning they've undertaken. Likewise, the second sheet of the team dashboard, very similar to the individual one. It shows who's done what, course title, description, etc. And I haven't gone right the way across on this, but it's just so you get the idea. And the overall directorate dashboard, again, very similar, shows the same sections as on the individual and the line manager one, but obviously all sub-teams within directorate. So you can filter by sub-team, you can still filter by person. So as a senior team, we can analyse this data in numerous ways. So for example, it became apparent that learning activity was reduced during the year end and the annual planning period. And the activity in the months immediately after that period was also quite low. It hadn't reached the levels that it started the year at. So line managers spoke to their teams to ensure that they'd not got out of the habit of taking their protected learning time, and reminders of L&D opportunities were given in the monthly team meetings and the monthly newsletter, with a particular dedicated section we actually had in our July newsletter. So the visibility of reasons for undertaking learning has kind of created a bit of an unexpected outcome. So whilst primarily analysis is used to ensure objectives and PDPs are being progressed, where activity is higher in other categories, it opens up discussion between the individual and line manager on any potential underlying reasons. So for example, a high level of health and well-being training or learning may link to previously undiscussed issues. And just to say, for the purposes of this session, I'm obviously using screenshots, which I'm sure you'll appreciate is not quite as good as being on the live system, but it is needed to maintain confidentiality of the team. So I'm going to be brave, and this was a decision I took this morning. So I'm going to try to stop sharing this particular presentation and actually go on to my live dashboard before I come back to this at the end. So if you could all please just keep your fingers crossed that this is going to work, I'd be very grateful, because it may or it may not. So just bear with me and I will try to do this.
There is Daryl. I had to take an urgent phone call. And what have you built the dashboard in? Did you say?
Yeah, so the template is just in as a Microsoft form, and the dashboard is ClickSense, which is our internal reporting system.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. Right. Fingers crossed this works, everyone. Okay, you should be able to see my Teams channel. If someone could sort of say yes, that would be great.
Yep.
Oh, fantastic. Right. So this is our learning development channel that everyone has access to. So you can see at the top, we've got the different things here. So I'll just go on to this one first. This is our learning log. So this is it. This is the actual template. Little bit of an intro about what it's designed to do. Hopefully visually attractive, tried to make it nice and colourful. And do tell people that it'll take approximately 5 minutes to complete. To be honest, you can do it in 2. So here I've just filled in a few this morning. So it asks you, did you attend a course? So yes or no. And depending on your response, depends on the next questions. So if I put yes, it asks me for the course title. If I put no, it asks for a description of the learning activity. And this is exactly as I've just showed you, training method, who provided it, when it took place, time. And if I fill all of these in, so when I hit submit here, let me just fill them in for you, just to show you. If I just say it was today, 60 minutes. So as you can see, now that submit button is moved down because we're asking more. So what we try to do is not come up with a big form that asks you lots and lots of questions and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to take ages. We ask a few and then the next questions are intuitive right the way down. So if I hit leadership, just put some nonsense in there. And it's a good one.
Recorded this course, Sarah.
I could have done. I could have done. Exactly. So would I recommend it? Obviously, I'll put a 5 on
absolutely.
that one. Then. Additional information. Am I a student? If I put no, then it asks me to submit. If I put yes, it asks me which body. Oops. And again, the minutes. So it's all quite intuitive. And I will change that later, Daryl, actually, and I'll put this on. So that's, as I said, that's the really easy bit. And you can see up here, I've got a little tab up here for my dashboard and also my team's dashboard. Our directorate one, we go through a different link. So again, everyone has it exactly the same. You click on your CPD dashboard, you keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully in a few seconds this will load and I can just walk you through. So there you go. This is my personal dashboard. You can see here exactly as I showed you on the screenshots. So what I'm going to say then, if we look, it's a little arrows. So if I want to look at training method, that then brings it up as a full screen. So you can see most of mine has been external or outsourced training, a little bit of in-house, NHS EI webinar, a bit of lunch and learn there as well. And you can see competencies. So about a third of mine has been technical skills, 20% health and well-being. So a reasonable split. And again, training time. So again, it splits it out for you. It just makes it nice and easy to read. And what you can do on these 3 dots is you can actually just view it as data, or there's some other things here I've not even explored myself yet. And I'm not going to press for the purposes of today in case something goes terribly wrong. So just to show you then, so if I wanted to say have a review with my line manager and we wanted to look at September, October, November, I just click those and it just filters and shows me what I did in those 3 months. So I think November one there, if I click on that, that'll then just go back to that one. So I think most of that was there we go, the Value Maker conference, and I did a pensions webinar as well. And you can see up the top here, that's the filter where I filtered on to the month. So I just click the cross and it brings everything nicely back for me. Again, if I wanted to just look by month and say, okay, what did I do in May? Again, you just click on these. So it's the One Finance Inclusion Conference, Richard Russell on a mental health session. So quite useful on those. And then the second page, this, as I said, this is the one where we scroll across. I'm just going to move my screen slightly, so apologies. So this is the first part of it. So again, I could look by dates, and look by quarters, or I could look by months, individual months as well, to see what we did, or by provider, a course, etc. So these are all mine. And again, I just scroll across and you can see, you know, some were not so popular. One particular one that I would not recommend to anyone, or in fact, I hope there's no one here from NHSEI who did that webinar there, because that didn't go down very well either. But as you can see, you can look back and actually see what you've done and what you thought about it, and maybe revisit some of this stuff. And then the third screen live again. So you've got these nice, I can't remember what these things are called at the top, but it just gives it a little bit of a break from the data, and you know, makes you look at the main words that people are using. So this is the directorate one. So again, you can click on the little arrows and you can see what other people have done. So let's have a look here. If you wanted to find VAT, for example, look at that one. And that will bring up any VAT conferences that people have been on. So again, you know, that the one in the middle, not been recommended really highly. So you might think, okay, maybe not that one, but there is two there that seem to be quite popular. So again, go to the little cross in the corner and you can come out of that. And likewise, the other training ratings. So there's lunch and learns here, HFMA, all sorts of things. There's a few here that are not particularly popular. That looks to be some exam stuff there. But you can use the filter, as I said, to do those. So you could maybe go on lunch and learn, which is we do most months at Patworth, and you can actually then go back and revisit any that look particularly popular that you may have missed. So that's it live. That's yeah, that's the live dashboard. So I'm just going to try and come off of that and just go back to PowerPoint, hopefully. Please bear with me. Okay, so hopefully you can now see the PowerPoint again. Right, so.
The PowerPoint's not showing on my screen, Sarah.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah. It's on mine, Sarah. It's on mine.
Oh, that's good.
Mine maybe being a bit slow.
Is there anyone else not able to see it? No. Okay, fabulous. Okay, I'll stick where we are then. So feedback. So the use of the learning log and dashboard has been really, really good. Very, very pleased with how it's been accepted within the team. And to be honest, the engagement's been excellent. We've recently done our level 3 accreditation, so we had to actually measure who was using it, and we found that only 3 members of the team had not been using it, and one of those was on long-term sick. So the other 2, obviously, we can address and try and find out why they're not using it, and they're going to be in trouble at their appraisals anyway because they won't have it all recorded. We try to encourage people to record as soon as they've been on a learning session because it is so quick and so accessible. And there's nothing worse than, you know, trying to trawl your calendar for 3 months when you know that you've got a quarterly review with your manager coming up. So we've tried to get them to engage in good practice here. And I think you know, at Patworth we are really, really passionate about giving our team the best possible opportunities to learn and develop through innovative, engaging suite of tools. And we do listen and we learn from feedback and use this and obviously new technologies as well to continually improve. So since the launch, we've shared this new tool both within our own organisation and within our system-wide learning and development group. And we've also demoed to colleagues in our digital and education teams who are actually both looking to adopt within their own departments. So, you know, for such a new tool, we're really pleased with the engagement and reception it's had. And that's it for me. So very, very happy to answer any questions. I hope that's all been useful for you. Daryl.
Yeah, I wish we'd had that chat a few weeks ago. So we've just built something similar using we're going to use our sort of Power BI platform. I'm guessing that unless we've got the report writing software that you've got, really all we can make use of the forms, but then we're going to have to create our own dashboards. Would I be thinking right?
Yeah, I think you can use what we've done if you like it. Obviously, you can use what we've done in terms of the way it's all set up. But unless you use Click, then you probably would need to just recreate in a different platform. I'm saying this like I'm sure it's not that difficult for people who know what they're doing. I wouldn't know how to do it, but it's basically so we only use that because that's our internal reporting system. You know, if your internal reporting system is using Power BI, then I'm sure that's going to be able to create something very similar.
Yeah, no, I believe so, and I like your dashboard. So yeah, I'm quite keen to pinch what you've got.
I'm glad you like it.
Sarah, we've got a lot of questions in the chat. Are you happy for me to read those out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, great. So the first one is, we have issues getting members of staff fill in the CPD. So how do you encourage staff to fill this in and get it part of completing a course?
So I think that was really when we looked at our criteria about what was stopping people filling in these CPD forms. And for us, it was because it was this Excel sheet that really was very unattractive to use and very kind of professional accountancy based. And we have, you know, lots of people in our team who are not accountancy based. We have our clinical coders, RTT, BI, etc., charity. So we needed something that was that visually attractive and easy to do. And I think they're the main two criteria to get people to do it, is to make it really easy to use and something you think, oh yeah, that's nice. I'm going to go for that. And that obviously along with a lot of promotion seems to have done the trick. I think if people realise, you know, when you have a one-to-one with your manager that you're going to be looking at this, then they're going to fill it in. Because if not, one of those two people that I mentioned hadn't filled anything in was one of my direct reports. So I've obviously had that conversation when it comes to our one-to-ones. Will show me your dashboard, and then you have that awkward moment when they say they haven't filled it in. When actually I know they've at least been to some lunch and learns because I've seen their name there. So people do get the hang of it quite quickly. But it's about promotion and making it really easy to use.
Okay, next question. Presumably there's not too much manual intervention needed.
Not once it's set up. Absolutely not. It runs itself really. Having said that, it did disappear from my little toolbar last week. Slight panic. But our BI lead put it back, thank goodness. But no, it like I said, it refreshes in real time every 2 minutes. Yeah, we've hardly touched it since it went live.
Okay, next question. How did you get senior team to buy into endorse an approach? We have a record, but it isn't consistently used. We also have additional tab that encourages people to share their learning and record the training that they have facilitated, attempting to encourage that.
So senior buy-in, to be honest with you, we have a very good senior team in terms of learning development. They're very L&D focused, and they not only give this protected learning time to everyone every month, but they do give the ambassador group the not a free rein as such, but time and resource to go ahead and look at developing these things. So the skills matrix, the original one that this all sort of came from, basically I was given, here you go, here's the summer, go and build me a skills analysis tool, skills gap tool. So very much great commitment from the senior team, and I think that's what you're looking for. If you can show them results at the end of it and say, this is what it's going to give us, then I think that's the main thing that you're going to be aiming for.
Okay, next question. Would you be willing to share a copy of your Microsoft form, please?
I'm sure we won't have any problem sharing that.
Once submitted, is it possible to go back and edit and delete?
That's a really good question. I know you can. I don't know how easy it is to do, and I only know you can because obviously when we were testing it, we filled in loads of these forms to put through so we could look at the analysis, and we did delete those. So yes, it is possible. Do I know how to do it? No, but yes, it is possible.
Okay. How do you ensure people can only see dashboard data that is relevant and appropriate to them?
So that's all behind the scenes. So everyone on their L&D Teams channel has that individual dashboard tab. If you're a line manager, you will have that line manager tab. And behind the scenes, basically there is a lookup and a mapping to who comes under you as a line manager. So you will only be able to see your team. And we're confident that that is secure. And that's obviously updated as new people join and people leave, etc.
Okay. Another comment is, would you be willing to share the skills matrix, please, again?
Yes, if people get in touch with me with anything they'd like shared after, then obviously very happy to share.
Sarah, it's Daryl.
Oh, yep. Yes, Daryl.
So is your version of the skills matrix still your Papworth version, or is it, because obviously we sent it into the national team, didn't we? And they are building something, I think. So I've got to the nub of what the problem is that they're really struggling, and I can see they get to the point where they want to drag the potential courses in with what you've identified, and obviously that's a lot of work and has to be kept up to date. So I think that's where they've come across a problem in what they're trying to achieve, and it may be that they perhaps should cut that step out and allow people to perhaps just have links to the course areas. So I'll have a chat with them next week. But is it did you get any kind of feedback from the One NHS Finance team, and is it reflective of that matrix, or is it still your own bespoke one at the moment?
So we're using our own bespoke one still, just because the national one's not got going yet. We've tweaked it slightly, Daryl. So we've tweaked the self-assessment levels of competency and levels of excellence. So you remember it was excellent, advanced, intermediate, and foundational, I think it was before. People didn't like to call themselves an expert. So the one that we've just launched again actually in November has a scale of 1 to 10. People are more likely to say they're 9 out of 10 than call themselves an expert. So we learned from the first one. And I had a call with Camilla Godfrey a couple of weeks ago, and exactly what they're trying to do is, as you say, they're trying to link the outcomes of the skills gap analysis to a course. Now, we avoided doing that. We keep a log of courses separate, and we basically say, here's your bespoke plan. Now go and look on that and see if I find yourself a course, because otherwise, as you've just said, you are constantly updating it. And we don't want tools that need that such a vast amount of resource being put in after. So we've left it a development plan. Go away, find yourself courses through the learning log, TripAdvisor, or through any of the other links that we provide for you, or go and find something yourself, if you want to do something a little bit different. So yeah, we're still using our own at the moment.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you.
Okay, some more questions. Could this be used to identify common course providers such as HMA, ONF, SDN to help provide feedback into future year plans?
Yeah, I guess it could. So when we've got the training provider, so you can filter on that, and we can have a look. And to be honest with you, because this is still relatively new, it's probably been, well, as you can see, we started in January. We will at some point need to do some analysis on this and see what people are actually doing. So absolutely, we can see how many courses have been on HFMA courses, FFF, SDN, or whatever. So yes, it can be used for that. Yeah.
Okay. Another question: did the finance team create it at all, or help from digital IT colleagues?
I'm proud to say we created it ourselves. So we are very lucky to have a very good head of BI. BI fits within our finance directorate. So basically there was probably 4 of us working on it, 2 from a kind of innovation side, and 2 of us from the learning and development ambassador group. And we just sat down and, okay, what do we want? And he created it. So yeah, we were very lucky to not need our digital colleagues although they do like it because we have demoed it to them.
Sarah, one of the things that we were thinking about was, because you can get output from One NH Finance, HFMA, Skills Development Network on who has actually attended courses. And what we were thinking as having that as an import to part of the job is to try and make it as easy as possible. Well, if you can suck the data in for them, clearly the commentary bits and the evaluation they would still need to do. Is that something that you've thought about?
Not really, if I'm honest. We're very much relying on people doing their own input, because it is for themselves, it is for their appraisal, for their objective reviews, for their one-to-ones, etc. I mean, at some point we could probably kind of compare, but to be honest, because it is so simple and so quick, people are filling it in. So I think if it got to the stage where they weren't, then we might have to look at doing something a bit different. But we try to get people to take a little bit of responsibility for themselves as well. May sound a bit harsh, but this is for their purposes as well. So we haven't considered that at the moment, no.
And the other thing is, and this is, you may have covered it while I had to step out, but have you got you've got some pick list menus, haven't you? So the other thing that we were thinking of doing is, obviously Skills Development Network have a long list of courses that they have annually, and you sort of know in advance which ones they get. So we were building them as a menu pick list.
Yeah, you could do that, absolutely. Because that's quite a tricky one, actually. I know when I've logged HFMA conference, the regional one, it was a little bit more time consuming because I wanted to put each session in differently. But you can do it just in one go, and we could add that to the little tick list. Yeah, absolutely. So like Lunch and Learn, we've added to it because that's something that, to be honest, most of the team do every month. So yes, you can absolutely add the regular things to it. Yeah.
What we were trying to avoid was people not quite putting in the same course title.
Yeah.
And then you think there's a variety of courses when it's actually only one, and they've just used slightly different ways of describing it. So that was one of the ways we were thinking of avoiding that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think is a fine balance, isn't there, between having too many options but having enough to pick up those big ticket things.
Yes, you're right. A balance has to be struck, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, just a few more questions. How much protected learning time do you have each month?
Well, we say to our team that we want them to do a minimum of 30 minutes every month. And I know that doesn't sound a lot, but for the people who say, I haven't got time, I can't do it, this is our carrot to say, we're only asking you to do 30 minutes, give it a go. And what we find is they do a lot more than 30 minutes because they realize that they can actually do that and it doesn't impact on their work. And we actually had a very interesting conversation at one of our ambassador groups a few months ago, where we actually asked the question of all our L&D ambassadors, are you taking your 30 minutes minimum protected learning time? And a couple of people said no. So we challenged them. Okay, next meeting, go and do it. Show us that you can do that. And they came back, and both of them just said, I did a lot more than 30 minutes. And did it impact on my role, my job? No, it didn't. So 30 minutes is our standard, but it's actually one of the work streams that we have in our system learning development group. So we have a Cambridge and Peterborough ICB group now. And we're building work streams together, and that is one of them, to try and have some sort of consistency across each of the different organisations in our ICB about what protected learning time we're giving. So it may be we increase that. I know certainly in the call we had last week with the group, they were looking maybe at 60 minutes. But again, it's a balance again between, if you put 60 minutes on, people say, I can't do 60 minutes. But if you put 30 on, they just got to understand that they can do more than 30. And understanding as well that sometimes, year end, people are not going to take it, and they might take it another month.
Okay. Louise, do you have a question?
Yeah, I love the comment in the chat that get people to read 5 pages of a good book and they'll read more. And I think that 30 minutes thing is, yeah, get people to do 30 minutes, they will do more. My question was around reviews and that sort of TripAdvisor nature. So we have had a couple of instances in our organisation where an expert team has given a training session, a sort of lunch and learn training session, and we've had some reviews after, and maybe with quite broad attendance that didn't meet the needs of some of the audience, and they got some quite harsh feedback.
Right.
But it was really good and technical in their area, but maybe slightly misdirected of those attending, and people sort of took that to heart a bit. So how, when you're doing sort of internal courses, do you protect those presenting from maybe the more harsher elements of the TripAdvisor sort of style?
Yes, that's a really good question, Louise. And it's not something we've probably looked at as much as we should. And I think that's mainly because the comments we've seen have been good. We've not actually had that instance coming through yet. So things like lunch and learns, yeah, some of them are presented obviously by colleagues elsewhere in the organisation, and some are presented by our own. And I do tend to look at those, but I haven't as yet found a one that's not good. And I think the thing that, so our 3 values at Patworth are compassion, excellence, and collaboration. And so every single person in our organisation has to go on a values and behaviours training. And I'd be not very happy at all if I saw something come through that was not, I mean, if it was critical in a sense of maybe this is not for me, but if you're having some unnecessary comments, shall we say, then I would certainly be taking that up with people. But it's not a problem we've encountered so far, but it's a really good point, Louise.
Right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just looks like there's one more question. Who was involved in the working group to set up the dashboard up? Does it require really technical knowledge? Do you have any advice, things you would do differently, and lessons learned?
So who was involved? Quite a small group, to be honest, just the 4 of us. So we have 2, as I said, from our 2 ambassadors from our innovation group, one who is very technical. In fact, both of them are pretty good on the techie stuff, but only in terms of the reports that we build for the rest of finance. So, our income reports, expenditure reports, budget statements, anything outside of Oracle. So anything kind of on our internal reporting. And 2 people very interested in learning development. We just kind of gelled together really nicely. It was a very good working group in terms of collaboration and just being able to understand what we really wanted. So yes, you will need some technical expertise, but as I said, we didn't need to go to our digital department. It was just our BI team. Their skills were absolutely fine. Would we do anything different? Not at the moment. I think maybe some of those buttons, as Darryl said, maybe putting on some of the more regular things we could look at doing. We shall have a review in the new year when we get to that 12-month period. But at the moment, touch wood, it's been really, really well received and well used. So probably not do anything different yet.
Sarah, I've got another really quick question. How many people have you got in your department in total?
We've got 55, Darryl.
Right, okay.
Yeah, you're only allowed 20 questions max, and that's your limit. So
thank you, Jodie.
Just one more question again. Have you got any further development plans with this dashboard?
I think, like I said, I think what we'll do is review it once we get to that 12-month period, and then we will have a really good look on the whole directorate dashboard. See again the use, assess what people are putting in, and again looking at how people are using that protected learning time. And then that will be the time when we sort of think, okay, we'll probably go out to the team, to be perfectly honest with you, and say, come and give us some feedback and tell us, is there anything maybe we could do a bit differently with it? Like I said, I think the buttons maybe will be the area we go for. But in general, I mean, because we're using it as well, we're not just sitting as a manager and looking at the analysis. We put our own learning on there. As Daryl rightly said, I should be doing that as soon as I come off the call. So we kind of know how easy or hard it is to use. It's not like we're just telling people to do something and not doing it ourselves. So at the moment, it seems to be quite good, but we will certainly be going out for feedback in the new year.
And are you happy for your email address to be shared with everyone in the group today?
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect.
That's fine.
Is there any more questions? I think that's all the questions answered.
Brilliant. I mean, that's an amazing amount of questions. So thank you. Thanks to everyone. I've literally only just brought the chat up, so I'll have a read through that after, but really appreciate your time listening to us today.
It was really good, Sarah. Appreciate
Thank
you making
you.
the time to talk to us.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.
We'll send the slides over and the recordings and share your contact details. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.